Abinish, devilsartik@gmail.com. No subject. Mr. Amit, pradipyadav227411@gmail.com, the 13th of July 2026 at 3:24. 2. devilsartik@gmail.com. Mr. Amit, pradipyadav227411@gmail.com. No subject. Mr. Amit, pradipyadav227411@gmail.com, Sunday, July 12, 2026 at 9:09 p.m. 2. devilsartik@gmail.com. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 1. Now let's start the fanfic. Naruto Uzumaki paced in front of the Hokage's desk with his arms behind his back. His eyes narrowed as the silence drew on, and the beat of his heart quickened as dread crept into all corners of his mind. Beads of sweat rolled down his face, getting lost in the thick goatee framing his lips. He did not know how much longer any man, especially himself, could take such cruel torture. I'm sorry, Naruto. Kakashi sighed and tossed a scroll into the finished pile. There are no missions requiring your abilities. Naruto instantly closed the distance between himself and the desk, slamming both palms onto the wood with a pitiful moan. Don't give me that crap. There must be something available for me. The sixth Hokage remained calm with an expression of boredom from having this exchange daily for the past 3 months. Guess ushering in an age of peace has some downsides, eh? Not having missions is a good thing. Good thing. What the hell am I supposed to do? Naruto dropped into the chairs and crossed his arms like a child denied a toy at the store. Ain't got training. Ain't got missions. What's a guy supposed to do to keep from going crazy? Relax. Date. Take up hobbies. Kakashi unrolled the next scroll, quickly stamping his seal of approval and moving to the next. All of your friends are busy building a peaceful life, some with each other. Don't start that shit with me. Granny has been pestering me about that for the past year. Naruto rolled his eyes. He did not want to be lectured about the lack of his romance by the man who read pornography in public. Hinata and I just didn't mix well, ya know. I understand completely. Sai is still single, I think. Maybe I could arrange a special mission with you two. Something romantic in the mountains with a hot spring. Pass. Naruto shuddered at the idea of being romantic with any male, with Sai at the bottom of the list if he ever decided to chase the same team. I guess I'll hang around here with you. As future Hokage, I need to learn about the basics. The color drained from Kakashi's face quicker than an aberrane rushing to the aid of a cockroach. Actually, I might have something for you. The Inuzuka needs someone to help with bathing dogs. Isn't that like AD rank or something? Kakashi refused to give him anything below AC rank to allow fresh genin teams to still partake in missions. Apparently, his ability to spawn limitless clones of himself left little work for everyone else. C rank. You will be meeting with Tsume Inuzuka too. Kiba's mom. Please do not interrupt me. Yes, Tsume is Kiba's mother. You'll work alongside her to clean some of their returning war dogs. Kakashi chucked the mission scroll at Naruto, grinning as it smacked his forehead with a dull thud. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Why is washing a bunch of mutts considered AC rank? Akamaru is one of the laziest people, dogs, things in the entire village. Hells, he might be even lazier than you. If only you could get a little lazier. Kakashi sighed and shook his head. Akamaru is a tracking dog, not a war dog. Most shinobi don't get to see the Inuzuka war dogs in action due to the unique personalities. Washing them can be dangerous if you annoy them too much. You might not be the best choice for this. Naruto hugged the scroll to his chest and glared at his former teacher. I'll take it. How hard can washing a bunch of stinky mutts be? I'll be done with this by the afternoon. You better have something good for me when I get back. Whatever. Sensing the last obstacle to his relaxation was about to depart to bother someone else, Kakashi took out a familiar, well-worn orange novel. Don't get bit. Once on the streets of Konoha, Naruto unrolled the scroll and looked at the details of the assignment closely. Tsume requested an entire team of experienced genin that could function well as a team with little supervision. Soft-spoken people were preferred due to the dog's aggressive and standoffish nature. The assignment lacked a duration, with the mission only being considered completed once all 16 dogs were cleaned to Tsume's standard. While not a concern for him, she was paying a considerable sum for the help and promised a bonus reward for exceptional service. Overall, sounded like the perfect job for a few clones per dog. This was far from the type of mission he wanted, but it gave him something to do instead of training or lying around his apartment. Can't work on an empty stomach. Naruto stuffed the scroll into his back pocket. He made his way to Ichiraku's for a quick breakfast of 3 bowls of ramen along with a serving of dumplings. The stupidly grinning expression lasted until the ramen stand came into view, dimming into a forced smile at the 3 people enjoying an unusually early bowl. He was about to slip away when he heard a loud bark announce his arrival. Ahaha! Naruto! Kiba Inuzuka and the rest of Team 8 turned their heads to stare at him. Mr. Tsuki was wondering if you were going to stop by. Did Lord Hokage give you a mission yet? Naruto, thinking fast, hurried to the counter. He sure did. I have to help your mom wash a bunch of dogs or something. Old man. Give me 3 bowls to go. Don't got time to chat too much. Tsuki and his daughter gave a quick thumbs up, hurrying to meet the demands of their favorite customer. Understand. She can be a real bitch. Kiba rubbed Akamaru's head and chuckled. Glad she didn't ask me for help with the returning warband. Hinata Hyuga poked her fingers together, trying her best to avoid staring at her longtime crush and former boyfriend. You shouldn't say such things about Lady Inuzuka. She is a nice woman. I believe she is the same person to refer to you as a mouse. Shino pushed his glasses up. The former Inuzuka matriarch is known to be rough in her social interactions. That's saying it lightly. Mom once scared off an entire enemy battalion with a snarl. Kiba snorted, taking a sip of his beer. You all should have seen the relief on the elders' faces when Hana took over the matriarch position. Seeing herself outnumbered, Hinata looked down into her bowl. Perhaps she is just not a people person. Saying it lightly. I remember the night Dad fled from the compound in sheer terror. She scared him so bad that he left the village. Kiba rubbed the back of his head. Mom operates on a different set of rules. Naruto, glad that the male member of Team 8 was carrying on the conversation, remained silent to avoid speaking with the Hyuga heiress. Their relationship lasted only a few months, but their breakup did not go smoothly. Of course, no split ever did, but the fallout from it still affected him, with some of his friends refusing to speak with him for breaking Hinata's heart. Luckily, neither Shino nor Kiba held any ill will towards him and supported his decision to terminate the relationship. Tsume Inuzuka is the type of woman who lives outside of society. She is an outcast in the truest sense of the word. Shino shook his head. The bond between Team 8 allowed such things to be said in the open without fear of hurting another's feelings. Kiba shrugged and finished the last spring roll on his plate. Yeah, you're right. Hana and me have tried to get Mom to be more sociable, but nothing seems to work. Some people are meant to be alone. Naruto flinched at the statement, having heard similar things said about him. His status as a Jinchuriki and troublemaker did not win him many friends growing up. Even after everything, many of the civilians of the village viewed him with warm mistrust, unable to find safety knowing that someone with so much raw power was visiting the same supermarkets. He did not mind their suspicions, accepting it as an unchanging fact about his life. Still, he hated that another person had to be labeled a pariah. Chuki's arrival with his order gave him an exit from the brooding thoughts and lopsided conversation. Thanks a bunch, old man. See you around dinner time. Naruto placed a wad of bills on the counter and turned to take to the rooftops. From the corner of his eye, he saw Hinata look at him with her lips openings. Kiba, far from the oblivious dolt many thought of him as, placed a hand on Hinata's shoulder to stay her. Good luck dealing with Mom, Naruto. Hit me up for some training if you're not too tired later. Naruto, eternally grateful, flashed a genuine grin. I can kick you even if I smell as bad as you. Then, with a subtle nod of thanks, he jumped to the nearest rooftop and made his way toward the Inuzuka compound. He had never been to that part of the village despite having lived in Konoha since birth, never having a reason to make a call at the Inuzuka or Aberrane compounds. Located in the so-called Western District, both clans had been awarded the compounds sometime after the First War for their aid of the Land of Fire. Most of the foreigners or descendants of foreigners lived in the district, including Tenten. Thankfully, colorful signposts pointed him to the compound. The pair of guards at the entrance, a couple of bored chunin busy looking at a booby magazine, granted him entry after a quick read of the mission scroll. He noted their look of pity and wondered if Kakashi had given him this mission as punishment. The war kennel holding war dogs was located towards the back end of the compound, away from the residential buildings and the homes of more even-tempered dogs. He arrived far earlier than Tsume requested, enjoying his first round of ramen in the shade of an oak tree some distance away from the barking of dogs. Basking in the afterglow, Naruto did not realize the wolf dog's presence until a razor-sharp claw poked his cheeks. Kiba's not here. Naruto opened an eye to stare at the white and gray wolf dog staring back at him with a single eye. A black eye patch covered the eye under the dog's remaining ear. He's doing stuff with his team. I will tell him that you stopped by. Naruto yawned and swatted the paw away. Kakashi-sensei gave me a mission to help wash some dogs. Just taking a break before heading in. The wolf dog narrowed its single black eye. Tsume requested a full genin team. So, seeing the dog unhappy, Naruto sighed and put his hands together to create a trio of clones. I'm far better than a group of snot-nosed brats. She'll be jumping with joy at me being around. The wolf dog did not respond, trotting into the kennel with a heavy step that showed little amusement. Naruto was about to close his eyes when the door to the kennel slammed open, metal against metal. A string of curses proclaimed the arrival of Tsume Inuzuka. She stopped in front of him, fists resting against her hips. It must have been almost 4 years since he last saw Kiba's mom, and the woman looked as youthful as ever, with only the faintest signs of age hanging under her burning eyes. Despite being in the reserves, she still wore her flak jacket over a black bodysuit, as if expecting a battle at any moment. Spiky brown hair, shorter than his own by a few inches, framed her sharp face and did nothing to hide the raw fury pulling her purple-tinted lips back into a snarl promising pain at the slightest provocation. Is this the best that can do? Tsume raised her hand to silence Naruto. This is the complete opposite of what I requested. Can you believe this, Kuro? Indeed, I can. The wolf dog stared at Naruto with a mixture of pity and aggression. Your reputation has never been the best. Naruto coughed loudly, drawing the attention of the spurred woman fully. Kakashi-sensei isn't like that. I've been bothering him for a mission, and this is literally the only thing he had for me. Then, seeing her anger slightly pacified, he climbed to his feet and smiled. My clones can do most of the work. Should I break the news to him? The wolf dog looked up at its mistress. Allow me, sweet Kuromaru. Tsume's snarl turned into a malicious smile. The war dogs are trained to attack clones on sight. No clones this time, boy. Hope you've learned more tricks than that. Seeing his spirit drop, she charged in for the killing blow. Since you're already here, I suppose I'll let you help. It'll make my day seeing you torn to scraps. Naruto took a big gulp of air and nodded, following her into the kennel. In an instant, the barks and yelps of the war dogs ceased with 16 pairs of black, hungry eyes staring at him. He regretted bugging Kakashi for a mission and hoped that some god or goddess had his back. Listen up, ladies and gentlemen. Tsume marched down the center aisle of the kennel, inspecting each of the mud-crusted dogs with a barbaric smile of an uncivilized mother. Naruto Uzumaki, that Naruto Uzumaki, has been ordered to give each of you a bath with my help. He has not been around any dog before besides the Runtakamaru. So let's all make sure to give him a warm reception. Naruto. Who is your next of kin? What? The person who will take care of your remains and possessions in the case of your unfortunate demise. Kuromaru took a seat next to Naruto and leaned in to whisper. Play along. This is her favorite part. Iruka-sensei is kinda like my dad. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and gave a nervous chuckle, hoping to sound like a green genin ready to piss his pants. Tsume nodded slowly. Remember the name, hounds. He'll be the one coming to pick the boy from your teeth if he messes up. A choir of barks and snarls responded joyfully. Now, I will take each dog from their cage and bring them to the wash station in the other room. You'll oversee giving them a scrub and rinse. After that, I'll take care of the rest. Should be able to get through half of the pack by the end of today. Yes, ma'am. Her tone left little room for argument, and Naruto sensed that she was a woman that expected all her orders to be followed without question. On the bright side, this gave him a mission for 2 days, meaning he wouldn't be bored. Kuromaru walked him to the wash station, explaining the basics of dog washing. Kuromaru, content with his explanation, hopped onto the table to stare at him. Repeat back my instructions. Blue soap first, rinse, then switch to the yellow soap. Rinse and brush. Finish with pink soap. Naruto rubbed the back of his head, chuckling as he prayed that was the correct order. Acceptable. Kuromaru's single ear perked up. Seems the dogs are eager to begin. Tsume is giving him a pep talk to calm him down. You can understand them. Of course. I am a dog. But, I thought where you spoke. Ah, that. Kuromaru hopped down from the table. A few of us, when bonded to the right owner, can gain the ability to speak like a human. It requires years of training and a kind temperament from the trainer. Kind temperament. The words seemed odd when about the woman who spoke of him becoming the dog's next helping of kibble. Will a Kamaru speak? No. While a great companion, Kiba lacks the instinct to form that kind of bond. So, it goes beyond being just friends. You must truly understand one another on a spiritual level. Naruto's eyes closed, reaching out to the connection he shared with Kurama. A warm and wet sensation, like an animal's nose, pressed against his cheek. The gesture of affection from his best friend brought a smile to his face. You must have formed such a bond with another, Kuromaru said knowingly. It takes a special type of person to do so. I have a feeling these dogs will take to you well. He paused upon hearing the metallic clink of a cage door opening. Prove me right, son of a zoo. Your first customer is on his way. Naruto braced himself as the first dog charged into the room with a storm of spit and snarl. It locked eyes with him, instantly sizing him up as a potential challenger. He remembered his first encounters with Kurama and decided not to be the brat that antagonized the beast that suffered just as much as he had. With a gentle smile, he patted the metal table of the station. Come on up. You're about to get the whirlpool wash. The beast regarded him with an apprehensive curiosity, slowly making its way to the table. Then, seeing the beast ready to bolt to the open door, Naruto decided on another approach. He turned the hose upon himself. Wouldn't do anything to you that I wouldn't do to myself, ya know. Kuromaru watched the dog hop onto the table without reservation, allowing the bath to commence in a piece rarely seen. He glanced towards Tsume, standing at the door with her arms crossed. She looked feral as ever but held a ghost of a smile. Few people in the Inuzuka clan had such a mindset, and even fewer outside the clan thought of themselves on the same levels as the dogs. Most handlers saw themselves above their canine companion. Those who viewed the dogs as their equals were given an understanding of the beast that words could never adequately express. His lone eye returned to Naruto, and he gave a pleasing bark as the boy, friend, started with the blue soap. Excellent. The blue soap will break up all the mud and allow the yellow shedding shampoo to work properly. Amateurs always skip the initial wash. Tsume stepped next to Naruto, watching his handiwork with a critical eye. Don't be afraid of using those fingernails to scrub. You won't hurt them. Naruto increased the force and smiled as more mud came off. That's good. Give him a rinse and move to the yellow. Don't worry about the setting. We use it just to loosen some of the fur. Makes my job far easier. What's the pink shampoo for? Makes him smell good. Wait, if these dogs use such shampoos, why does Kiba smell? That was a mystery Naruto never understood. His dog of a best friend always carried a slightly unpleasant musk with him. He always assumed it to be from Akamaru or the other dogs living with the Inuzuka. Tsume barked with laughter, slamming her fist against the wall and doing her best to remain standing. Thank you. Kuromaru and I have been trying to tell that blockhead to bathe more. Just be glad that Kurenai convinced him to shower more than once a week. That's so gross. Naruto's face twisted at the thought of body odor. But, despite growing up as an orphan, personal hygiene ranked high on his list of priorities. So his daily wash happened no matter even on missions. Maybe you could make a mission for the village. Yeah, and then Kakashi will make you do it. On second thought, maybe we should just let him stew in his own stink for a bit. Naruto stuck his tongue out. We'll chalk it up to his own special personality. Kuromaru huffed and laid down, sensing that the rest of the dogs would behave well for Naruto. It is fortunate that you lack the nose to truly appreciate his odor. The morning and afternoon passed in the blink of an eye, with Naruto and Tsume lost in work. With the smoothness of the work, neither of them decided to take a break in hopes of completing the entire kennel in a single day and, in turn, breaking a long-standing record dating back to the early days of the Inuzuka in Konoha. While they did work hard and struggled little with even the liveliest of dogs, they only managed to finish 12 baths by the time Kuromaru woke up from his mid-afternoon nap. I'm really sorry, Mom. This is my first time doing this. Naruto sprayed down the table with disinfectant. I thought for sure we were going to make it. Don't apologize to me, pup. This was the most fun I've had in a long time. Long gone was the feral woman seeking to intimidate. Naruto did not know if her personality change came from her tiredness or respect for his work ethic. We'll be able to finish up the last 4 tomorrow morning before lunch. I'll be here bright and early. This was a blast. Tsume vacuumed the last of the hair and emptied the bag into a trash can. Well, whenever you want to help, you're welcome to tag along with me. Ain't every day I get a good helper around here. Sure. Once you look past all the biting and glares, all the dogs are pretty friendly. You can't judge a book by the cover, ya know. Such a simple saying meant the world to him. It took many years before people looked at him other than the host of the fox that took so much from the village. Good. I'm sure we'll be able to beat that damn record in a few weeks. Imagine everyone's faces when our names are placed above the kennels in honor. Tsume looked over the wash station once more to ensure everything was left in good condition. Looking good. We always want to ensure this place is left clean in case a team comes back late from a mission. Nothing more than coming home with a dirty dog only to find the washroom a mess. Should I walk him to the gate? Kuromaru yawned and stretched. No. I shall do it. Head back home. I'm making steak tonight to celebrate a good day of hard work. Kiba will love that. Naruto examined his soaked jacket, dreading doing laundry for the 3rd time that week. Bet he can wolf done a few rib eyes. Tsume chuckled and shook her head. Kiba won't be having any. He is too old to have mommy cook for him anymore. At least, that's what he tells me. Since moving out, the boy has developed an obsession with fast food. He has gained a few pounds, as of late, Naruto mused. While far from concerning, many people remarked how Kiba's belly had grown a few inches since last winter. However, the women did not seem to mind, and that is all the Inuzuka male cared about. You don't live with the rest of the clan. Nah. I've moved out to a small place in the forests outside the compound. Gives me and Kuromaru plenty of privacy. She smiled though it lacked the radiance of the ones from before. It's time that the Inuzuka enter a new age. Can't have a dinosaur walk around. You're not a dinosaur. Granny Tsunade is the only dinosaur I know, and those 2 advisors that bother Kakashi with dumb problems. Naruto frowned a moment, praying that the 2 old coots would croak before he became Hokage. Tsume chuckled, holding the door open for him. There is far more to being a dinosaur than just wrinkles. Inuzuka lifespans are far longer than the average person, with only the Uzumaki living longer. Hell, my mother lived to be almost 150 before dying. Well, you're still not a dinosaur. Naruto followed behind her with a deep frown. He hated self-deprecating humor. I bet you can still kick a lot of butts. If you're a dinosaur, you're a T-Rex. The comment earned a hearty chuckle from Tsume. You're one hell of a motivational speaker, kid. You'll be an amazing Hokage from the speeches alone. Well, Kakashi-sensei did warn me about not having too long of an acceptance speech. But, of course, he still had many years before being named Hokage. Still, the former Cyclops prepared him for the role through humor-filled conversations, typically about certain Narutoisms that were better left behind closed doors. They reached the compound's front gate, still talking about the many things Kakashi told him not to do as Hokage did. Naruto rubbed the back of his head, seeing it was time to depart from the wild woman's company. Despite the initial impressions and warnings from Kiba, Tsume was much more fun than anyone else in the village. Even in the middle of a job, she was able to carry on with an infectious merriment that brightened the room. To the prudish, it seemed childish at best and barbaric at worst. But, for Naruto, it was the sign of a free spirit not so different than how Jiraiya portrayed himself. Thanks again for the help today. Needless to say, but you proved me wrong. Tsume held out her hand, which Naruto took for a heavy shake. Damn shame you weren't born into the clan. With your talent for dogs, you would have been a fierce warrior. I just can't wait to come back. I'll be here early tomorrow morning. He grinned and rubbed the back of his forehead, basking in the compliment. Many people praised him, but few could do so and sound purely genuine. If we get done early enough, I'll prepare a special lunch in celebration. The scroll did mention a bonus reward. May the road rise to meet your feet, Naruto. Tsume pushed the front door of her cottage home open. She threw her flak jacket over one of the 3 chairs around the fireplace. She ran both hands through her hair, releasing a heavy sigh and feeling the start of weariness creeping into her mind. While from an old coot, she was aware of the first signs of her age catching up with her. She could no longer work an entire day and stay up all night feasting with her friends and family. Now, she preferred a quiet evening at home with Kuromaru and a good book. Speaking of the canine, Kuromaru sat in the kitchen next to the porcelain dog bowl bearing his name. The wolf dog watched her with an unusual expression laden with curiosity. Speak your questions, Kuro. How did you think the boy did today? Naruto did a good enough job for an outsider. We both know he did far better than that. Kuromaru nodded towards the fridge, mushing her forward with dinner preparation. What do you want me to say? He is a natural with dogs and probably with animals in general. Makes sense given that he is the current toad sage and host of an animal spirit. Tsume removed 2 large steaks from the fridge, slicing the packages open with her claws and preparing them for a quick trip to a skillet on the stovetop. Kuromaru moved to her side to watch the preparations for dinner. You seemed to enjoy his company. You even invited him back. So, when was the last time you actually wanted someone around you? She waited to respond, focusing on seasoning the meat to perfection and buttering the skillet. An exile does not deserve the joys of company. Kuromaru's passive indifference exploded into rage. You are not an exile. The fight was far from fair and should never taken place. You bear no shame from the duel. What kind of mother would spill the blood of her child? Perhaps you're right, but the end result remains the same. Tsume turned the knob of the stove to medium-high. Hana challenged my position as matriarch with the backing of the pack heads. I could not rise to the challenge and lost. It is better this way. The clan wishes to move in a direction that runs against my ideology. My continued presence would only serve as a roadblock. A tense silence passed between the companions, each trying to understand the position of the other without budging from their own beliefs. I hope he does show his face around more often, Tsume relented. It feels nice knowing someone shares a belief similar to mine. You're both untamed and noble. Kuromaru returned to his bowl as Tsume removed his steak from the skillet first. Damn shame he was not born among the clan. A mischievous smirk formed on his muzzle. Damn shame he was not a few years older, eh? Tsume spun around and pointed a fork at him. Do not start that type of talk. I am merely speaking hypotheticals. Imagine the pair of you roaming the remote forests of the world together, exploring the forgotten places of humanity in search of ancient lore, and spending the night entangled in each other's embrace. Either you're far more creative than I've given you credit for, or you have been reading some garbage. I've only been reading the stuff you buy. Let's enjoy our dinner in silence. After a long day of washing dogs, Naruto decided to head straight home instead of going out for dinner. He loved ramen, ayami, and chuki but wanted to take a bath to remove the stink of dirty dog that made bystanders turn their heads. It would not be fair to the other guests of the ramen stand if he showed up in such a state, nor did he want to hurt the old man's business by driving away potential customers. So a nice bath, a few cups of ramen, and a quick trip to the convenience store for a popsicle sounded like the perfect way to wrap up an awesome day. Awesome day. The thought puzzled him. Spending an entire day washing dogs was not what constituted an awesome day in anyone's book. However, the mission went well, all facts considered, and earned him a friend in the form of Tsume Inuzuka. That gave him a moment's pause. The half-feral woman made the entire thing awesome. Her mixture of humor and toughness radiated a confidence that made his heart skip beats. She could be kind one moment and ready to throw down the next, warrior and woman in perfect harmony. Tsume was the type of woman he dreamed of marrying. What the hell am I thinking? Naruto shook his head free of schoolboy fantasies. He scolded himself for thinking of such needless distractions on his path to Hokage. The short-lived relationship with Hinata left a bad taste for romance in his mouth despite the pressure of Tsunade and Kakashi for him to try dating again. The last thing he needed at this point was a silly crush on a woman approaching her 60s. With his mood slightly soured, he continued home at a quicker pace to avoid giving himself too much time to think. Finally, after a long bath and 6 cups of instant ramen, his mind was soothed enough to summon the energy to pick up a popsicle. He reached the convenience store when an all-too-familiar voice called out to him like the first breath of spring. Naruto. It's been a while. Ah, Sakura. Glad to see you're back in town. Naruto turned to face the medic of the former Team 7 and smiled as the woman ran down the street toward him. She left the village some months before to practice medicine abroad to gain the experience required to take over the hospital from Tsunade. With her gone, things had become far lonelier. It felt good to have such an old friend home. Sakura stopped in front of him, beaming with uncontrolled glee. It feels wonderful to be back. Traveling is fun, but nothing beats the comfort of home. She paused to examine him with a professional gaze, as if having the ability to diagnose him with a look. Love that goatee. It suits you well. Thanks. Kakashi-sensei won't let me grow a beard but relented about the goatee after I started pestering him. He gestured for her to follow him. When did you get back? This afternoon. I was going to visit you first, but Kakashi said you had a mission. She looked down for a moment, biting her lip. Sorry about Hinata. Ino told me everything. Sure, she did. Don't say it like that. I've known Ino longer than you and can tell when she is making stuff up. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Some things don't work out. You are not obligated to stay with someone because of their feelings alone. Thanks. I'm just done with the whole romance thing, ya know. Pervy Sage went his entire life without marrying, and Kakashi-sensei seems happy being single. Sakura frowned and released her grip. Don't say such things. I know a good woman will see you for the real prize you are. Someone that will understand you on a deeper level. Maybe. Enough about me. Tell me all about your trip. They both bought a popsicle and went to the park to enjoy the classic summer treat. Sakura spared no detail about her adventure outside the village, taking the time to tell what happened in each town she visited. The Land of Fire, despite being one of the wealthiest nations in the world, still had many frontier towns that did not have trained medical personnel on site. She stayed busy helping with checkups and simple surgeries, urging patients with more complicated problems to see medical help in the major cities. His hope as future Hokage was to create a system to bring such aid to all corners of the Land of Fire, and Sakura would be the perfect woman to see his vision completed. So, Kakashi-sensei finally gave you a mission. Sakura wrapped the popsicle stick in the wrapper. He seemed amused about the whole thing but wouldn't say what it was about. Nothing too serious. Just needed to help Kiba's mom with washing a bunch of dogs. I'll have the whole thing finished tomorrow morning. Ah, Miss Tsume. She is a sweet woman once you get to know her. Wait, you know Tsume? Sure do. I even performed my first appendectomy on her shortly before the war started. Your first what? Removal of the appendix. Sorry. I forget that not everyone is medically trained. Naruto chuckled. He enjoyed the bookish nature of Sakura, finding it equally charming and funny. Things would improve now that she was back in town. She seems pretty cool. An understatement of the highest magnitude. I might help her a little more once the mission is finished. Gods know Kiba won't help her. You're doing a good thing. Sakura rubbed his back in a sisterly manner. She is a good woman that has been given an unkind hand, as of late. Yeah. Shino seemed pretty down on her, and even Kiba said nothing too nice about her. More fearful than inspired, ya no. The normally free-speaking woman seemed to hesitate, chewing on her lips in a sign of profound mental struggle like that he had when trying to figure out what flavor of ramen to order. Then, finally, she looked around to ensure no one was snooping and moved closer to him. Lady Tsunade and I routinely take her out to lunch. Master and she are good friends going back to before the Third War or something. Sometime last year, Hana challenged her to a duel to lead the clan. Wait, Kiba's sister challenged Kiba's mom. Why would they do something like that? He knew the Hyuga enjoyed pitting members against each other, with the memory of Hinata being beaten by Neji still haunted his dreams. Still, the Inuzuka seemed far more family-oriented for such practices. She did with the backing of the clan's elders or pack heads, from each of the 7 major packs that make up the clan. It's a ritual only used in the most drastic of circumstances. Apparently, something triggered much of the clan to turn against her. Kiba's sister is pretty cool, but Tsume is on a whole other level. There is no way that Hana could beat her. You're right, but she is not the one to attack her child. Instead, she allowed Hana to win the fight and chose to become an exile living on the fringes of the clan's compound. But why would Hana do such a thing? Why would the clan turn against someone like Tsume? That's internal clan politics for you. Konoha gives clans complete autonomy on how to govern their members and structure. She took the exile quite hard and closed herself off from the outside world. You must have left quite the impression on her if she wanted you to return. Naruto found himself thankful for not having to deal with a clan. In many ways, being an orphan was better than growing up in such an environment. The support of a family came at the price of risking running afoul of the entire clan for a single misstep. As an orphan, his life was his own, with limitless possibilities. Better to never had a family than to be kicked out of one. I disagree with this course of action. Good. To stress the point, I have the sudden urge to defecate in the house. Okay. Tsume snapped the cookbook closed and turned to face Kuromaru with a frown. Rarely did the wolf dog protest her actions in such a direct manner. Explain why you are opposed to me cooking ramen. Wasn't your suggestion last night that I try to befriend him? Kuromaru stretched out in his dog bed. Ramen is a delicate dish that requires months of training to prepare from scratch for even the best cooks. Meanwhile, Naruto's obsession with the dish is known worldwide. You have zero chances of producing a bowl that will satisfy him. I suggest cooking something that you take pride in. This allows him to see a glimpse of who you really are. It appears far more genuine. Genuine. A glimpse of who I really am. This is a meal to reward him for doing a good job, not some type of first date. The wolf dog yawned lazily and closed his remaining eye in an attempt to go back to sleep. He did not enjoy being woken up so early anymore, preferring to sleep in until the late morning hours. Retirement had many benefits, and sleeping in was one he was eager to take complete advantage of. Unfortunately, Tsume preferred waking up before sunrise. His suggestion struck a chord within her, and she rambled on about ways to enhance Naruto's ramen since waking earlier than usual. Whatever. Just make something simple that you're good at. Tsume leaned into her recliner, drumming her fingers against the armrest in hopes of figuring out what to make. She had not cooked for anyone beyond Kuromaru since the start of her exile outside of making lavender cookies for Tsunade during the holidays. Outside of grilling or frying meat, most of her meals for her children were a variety of soups and stews that could be reheated throughout the week, depending on their often conflicting schedules. Desserts. Ramen was close to a soup or stew. Pork stew. Tsume jumped from her seat and rushed to the fridge to make sure she had a pork tenderloin available. She frowned upon finding the lack of any suitable cuts. Kuromaru, you're to help Naruto with the rest of the dogs this morning. I need to run to the market. The wolf dog's grumbling forced a smile to her face. Don't be like that. I am trying to gain his company. She left the house with her wallet before Kuromaru could mount further resistance. She knew her best friend wouldn't let her down. He never did. Early morning walks across the compound always managed to calm her mind. Thick mist settled among the tall trees and mixed with the howls of the waking packs that awakened something primordial that called her to flee from Konoha to the world's wild places. Eventually, she long decided, that was where her fate lay. With Kuromaru by her side, the exiled matriarch would give a final farewell to her children and the few friends that stood by her side before going on one last hunt, destined never to be seen in the world of men again. Not yet. The time would come, but not yet. She still had much to do before that time came. Kiba needed to grow into his own, preferably with a lovely young woman and a handful of pups. Hana still was finding her feet as the leader of the clan, something that left her in a dangerous position that Tsume wanted to pass as soon as possible for the sake of her daughter's well-being. No, her family required her presence for the challenges that were to come. Only when her duties ended would she find that final freedom. Konoha's markets operated on a 23-hour schedule to accommodate the shinobi leaving or returning on missions with a set hour set aside for stocking or receiving shipments. It placed a heavy burden on the merchants but ensured everyone had access to goods. Many a time as a single mother did it help Tsume grocery shop for her children and now allowed her to shop in solitude. She found a hefty 3-pound pork tenderloin on sale that promised to feed Kuromaru and herself for the rest of the week beyond making the stew for Naruto. A package of dried thyme leaf and canned chicken broth rounded out her purchases to complete the stew. She returned home to find Kuromaru already gone, leaving her plenty of time to prepare the stew and clean the house. Knowing the stew to take less than an hour to prepare and cook, the house took priority. Her lack of guests gave her leeway to be relaxed regarding cleaning, but Kuromaru would never let it go if she allowed Naruto to enter their home when the place was in such a state. Dusting, sweeping, and mopping took the better part of the morning due to the buildup of dust and dirt, but the effort was well worth it. The musty smell of the cottage had been replaced by a sweet citrus scent sure to please any visitor. Satisfied with the work, Tsume moved on to cleaning herself. A brief shower was followed by the difficult task of deciding what to wear. Her everyday black bodysuit covered with her flak jacket worked most of the time but seemed to clash with the atmosphere she wanted to give Naruto. Genuine. Kuromaru suggested she make something she liked to be more open with her new friend. Her wardrobe lacked much of what a typical woman was expected to have, mainly consisting of bodysuits of varying natural tones that could be used in any environment a mission could take her. Beyond that, she had a few suits used for formal functions she was required to attend as a matriarch. Neither option appealed to her. Finally, her eyes landed on the single piece of feminine clothing she owned, a violet sundress last worn. She did not remember when she last wore it nor where she got it from. When was the last time I wore something even remotely close to this? Probably for Kota's birthday. Kota was the absolute last person she wanted to think of at the moment. She removed the dress from the closet and looked it over for any holes. It looked in good condition, if not a little wrinkly, something a quick trip to the dryer would fix. I doubt even Kuromaru would suspect me wearing something like this. About time I show that old dog that I can learn new tricks. Naruto watched as Kuromaru herded the last dog into its cage. Without Tsume's help, the job took far longer to complete, with much more labor required to complete each dog's bath. Kuromaru's instructions guided him on what to do, but all the work had to be done by him. He regretted skipping breakfast. Congratulations. We're done with the entire warband. Kuromaru watched him lock the cage door. Not too bad, all things considered. Tsume will be proud of your hard work. Guess so. Naruto did not need her help, but her company made things all the better. However, she needed to take care of some personal business. Sakura's words from the previous evening told him not to hold her absence against her. Cheer up. Tsume is probably back home preparing you something amazing to eat. Kuromaru took the lead out of the kennel, trotting ahead of Naruto with a happy step more fitting for a younger dog than a seasoned veteran. She is an exceptional cook. Her parents were cooks who passed some of their knowledge on to her. Really? Did they not lead the Inuzuka? Kuromaru shook his head. They did not. Tsume did not come from the line of the previous patriarchs. Really? I thought she would have grown up groomed to take the role like Hana, Hanabi, or Shino was. Far from it. She was the first of her entire bloodline to be given the honor of taking a companion and allowed battlefield honor. Her heroism in the years before and during the Third War saw the elders grant her the leadership of the clan. Naruto frowned and tilted his head. Then why did they allow Hana to challenge her? Kuromaru froze and slowly turned to face Naruto, ear laid back, and eyes narrowed. And who told you of such things? Naruto took a step back and chuckled nervously. He regretted asking such a blunt question. Heard it on the streets, ya no. HMPH. Kuromaru resumed the march to the cottage with less vigor than before. I will not speak on the matter directly but will have you know that Tsume did nothing wrong. It is a tragedy that the clan she dedicated her entire life to turn its back on her. She might love Hana as a daughter, but the girl holds no special place in my heart. Do not speak of such things again. I just don't understand how anyone could think of Tsume as a bad person. On the contrary, she is nice and works hard. Even Granny likes her, and Granny only likes gambling. The wolf dog paused once more to study Naruto. Careful, pup. I might just start liking you. Viewing this as the perfect chance to change the topic, Naruto smiled. So, where are Kiba's grandparents? He never mentioned them. Long dead and buried. Kuromaru spat at the ground. They were murdered during the kinslaying at Mount Mayo when Tsume was still young. What? Did you not learn about it in the academy? I wasn't a very good student. That, or it is a dark moment in Konoha's history that certain people wanted to be forgotten. Do not worry about it. Such things are probably better left in the past. The answer did not sit well with Naruto, and the title alone made the event sound important. He made a note to investigate the event later, with Sakura, a walking encyclopedia, being the best resource to begin with. Beyond that, any old person with a deep knowledge of the village's history should know a thing or two about any horrible event called the kinslaying. Tsunade and those two old advisors must have information. A few rounds of sake would lose Tsunade's lips. At the same time, Homura and Koharu were eager to earn his trust, given his status as Kakashi's obvious successor. He loved when a plan came together. So, what's Tsume making? Tsume stood in the doorway with a grin that spanned her entire face. She wore the violet sundress free of wrinkles. She found that it hugged her frame comfortably, displaying far more of her natural curves than expected. In addition, the low cut in the front gave visitors an enhanced hint at her womanly assets. Her regular purple lipstick and eyeshadow remained but were applied much more prominently than the usual dusting. A pair of earrings shaped like the crescent moon and a golden necklace completed the look she had never imagined herself wearing in these waning days of her life. I was wondering when you lot would show up. She watched as Kuromaru and Naruto took in every detail of her appearance, almost blushing as the young man's face turned a tomato hue. Then, seeing them frozen in place, she reached forward and placed a finger on Naruto's nose to break the spell. How do I look? I wanted to try something a little different. Naruto felt the world spin around him as the woman's words encircled him like a sweet mist. Sapphire eyes strained to memorize her, and his mind submitted to the heart of a man who saw the glimpse of the sacred feminine that poets and romantics worshipped in the primordial nights under silver light. Beautiful. The smile upon her brightened subtly, changing from one of pride to joy. What do you think, sweet Kuromaru? Bark, bark, bark. Naruto looked down at the wolf dog with a confused expression. What the hell is wrong with you? Kuromaru. Come on, bud. Say something. Tsume leaned against the door casing, laughing and on the verge of tears as the dog continued to bark. I broke him. Tsume reached forward and rubbed his face gently. Our bond and connection allow him to speak like us, along with complex thoughts. However, that connection can confuse him if I do something completely unexpected. It appears that my little game may have worked too well. Kuromaru barked once more before running into the yard to run laps. They watched the dog for a few seconds before Naruto shook his head in pity and amusement. He could not blame the poor creature. What could one dog do in the face of the divine? He'll be fine in an hour or two once his brain processes everything. In the meantime, let's enjoy lunch alone. She held back another storm of laughter as Naruto's face turned crimson. Even after all these years, it appeared that she could still make a good man blush. Perhaps Kuromaru was right about keeping him around. What did I? Tsume stepped into the house with Naruto close behind. I prefer not to until later in the day. Come. I decided to make you a hearty pork stew that will knock your socks off. He nodded dumbly and sat by the unlit fire in one of the chairs as she went to the kitchen to prepare the bowls. The house's interior matched the fairy tale aesthetics of the exterior with warm, rustic hues and bright brown wood that reminded him of a home he had never had. Trinkets from her many adventures stood proudly on her shelves, all hinting at the exotic places she had been. He saw a curved sword from the desert kingdoms beyond the land of wind's borders and a flintlock pistol carried by some sea raiders who frequented the coastlines in search of easy prey. Other items of a more personal nature include many photographs of Kiba and Hana from their childhood. A few other people were represented in pictures, including a much younger but still very drunken Tsunade. Most curious was the oldest-looking photograph of a young brown-haired girl in a green robe holding a small gray puppy in front of a gate bearing a red swirl. Photography is one of my hobbies. Mostly nature pictures, but I made sure to capture the important things in my life. Tsume entered the room carrying a tray with 2 bowls, a yellow bottle of wine, and a rye loaf. She sat it down between 2 chairs before fetching a pair of glasses from a cupboard for the wine. I hope you do not mind wine with lunch. It's an old tradition of the Inuzuka to serve meals with alcohol. Thank you. Naruto took the offered glass with a smile. Jiraiya almost always preferred sake or beer with his food and told him to get used to such things for formal events. Luckily, he much liked the taste of wine over sake and beer. The taste of the golden liquid was sweet and bold, with a pleasant spice taste that tingled his tongue. What is this? Honey wine. Fermented honey with a special combination of clove, cinnamon, and meadowsweet. She took a sip from her glass and swished it to coat her mouth in the flavors. I picked it to enhance our meal. Naruto looked into the bowl and noticed the stew, smelling the aroma of pork and thyme. It reminded him of ramen but heartier that harkened back to days long past. He took one of the bowls, eager to taste the meat, and found that the taste did not disappoint. Why have I never had this before? It felt like a crime that this was the first time he got to experience such flavors together. Unfortunately, Chuki had new competition in town. The taste buds of most people in the village are far too refined for such a dish. You'll eat well today. There is plenty even for one with such an appetite. They feasted happily together, exchanging stories about the daily lives. Tsume laughed at how Naruto irritated the Hokage, including the times he stole the man's pornography collection and scattered the books across the village. It turns out that the man still did his pranks from boyhood but in a more discreet manner where no one could pin it on him anymore. The best part was Naruto's secret partner in crime. So, Kurama and I spent all day looking for the right ratio of stink to itch powder to put into Lee's jumpsuit. Naruto leaned back in the chair, nibbling on a piece of bread and basking in the afterglow of a perfect meal. We eventually settled on a 30-70 combination that made him run around the training field. Sadly, he thought it was his own flames of youth, activating and enjoyed it. Note to self, don't piss you off, else I'll wake up with pink hair or itchy panties. Who would have thought the 9-tailed fox had such a sense of humor? You have nothing to worry about. Kurama and I only prank people who truly deserve it. I sometimes wonder if I inherited my love of pranking from him, some side effect of him being sealed in me. So, were you two always friends? Hell no. Me and the fox hated each other until coming to an understanding during the war. Even then, it took us some time after the war to really get cozy with one another. Sakura is my best friend, but Kurama is something beyond a best friend. It reminds me of Kuromaru and me. He is so much more than a best friend or companion. I cannot imagine a life without him being by my side. Exactly. Kurama and I are on a wavelength few people can understand. We complement each other and fill each other's gaps. I almost want to meet this fox. He sounds like an absolute riot. Naruto closed his eyes. He's currently snoozing in a cave somewhere, but I'll arrange for you to meet him later. In a cave. I thought he would be sealed within you. He is, kind of. We created a new seal that allowed him to stay connected with me while granting him a physical body to run around outside. Our mental link still exists, so we're in constant communication. Wonder what he does with that freedom. I doubt he has many hobbies being a giant demon fox. Mostly chases after vixens. Naruto rolled his eyes at Kurama's obsession with female foxes. Apparently, he wants to establish a harem of vixens to create an entire army of miniature nine-tails to finally prove he is the greatest of all the tailed beasts. How a fox taller than any building in Konoha was going to reproduce with a standard-sized fox still puzzled Naruto, but he decided it best not to think about it to avoid generating mental images of things best left to the imagination. Keep him far away from Kuromaru. The damn dog has a habit of disappearing at night to mingle with some wolf packs outside the village. I swear a few of those wolves have markings a little too similar to his. Agreed. The world cannot handle those two becoming wingmen for each other. Tsume chuckled and shook her head at the thought. Talking about the nine-tailed fox casually and having lunch with her son's friend felt like a daydream. Her lunches with Tsunade, while fun, never had a casual air about them. With Naruto, she could let her hair down and be as uncouth as she wanted. You mentioned nature photography. Got anything published? Oh number. I am an amateur that just takes pictures of the animals I hunt. Yup. That's my favorite pastime. Something about heading into the wilds with little to find the biggest, meanest son of a bitch to take back home to mount on a wall. Tsume grinned turned savage as she retrieved an album from a bookshelf. My trophies still reside in the main hall of the compound as an inspiration for all the young pups. She opened the book to a photograph of a snarling grizzly bear. Took this bad boy down with a javelin and a few arrows. Kuromaru distracted it long enough for me to deliver a killing blow to the throat. His pelt is currently on my bed. Incredible. I always wanted to go hunting but never had anyone to teach me. Jiraiya looked down on the practice, and Kakashi rather read his books. Guess you've stumbled upon the right woman. Come autumn, you'll join me for my yearly mountain trip. I'll turn you into a master hunter in a few weeks. Tsume flipped through the album in search of a particular photo. Here we go. Look at the size of this snake. She was preying upon a village in the land of water, and the local officials placed a mighty bounty on her. I took her down while being pregnant with Kiba. Our battle lasted 3 entire days, with her fangs almost ending me more than a few times. Naruto's eyes widened as she went into further detail about the battle. Once again, the perfect mixture of woman and warrior made his heart thunder in his chest. But, as Tsume explained the final moments of the struggle in an abandoned castle, he could no longer deny that he was crushing hard on the former matriarch. You're amazing. The words, so simple, gave Tsume pause as the foreign sensation of heat brightened her cheeks. He looked at her with a fondness that promised respect and company. When did anyone look at her like that? Why did every fiber of her soul cry out in joy? The distance between them closed as if pulled together by a magnetic force neither could control. Her hands took the initiative, laying on top of his in a soft caress of gratitude. Mother. Hannah's voice shattered the moment, but the awakened passion remained burning within both of their hearts. Coming. Tsume closed the album and gave Naruto a final look of confused compassion. He smiled at her as if understanding the storm of emotions crossing her face. She returned the album to the shelf and then answered the door. This is unexpected. Please, come in. You seem to be in good spirits, Mother. Hannah paused to examine the outfit with a raised eyebrow. Huh. Never knew you owned a dress. What's the occasion? Just having lunch with a friend. Tsume gestured to Naruto, whose blush had disappeared. I assume you know Naruto. Naruto, this is Hannah. A pleasure. Welcome to the Inuzuka compound. Kiba has spoken highly of you, and your feats have earned the respect of my clan. Hannah extended her arm in friendship, to which Naruto grasped to return the friendship. I only did what had to be done, but thank you. He still struggled in formal meetings like this despite the tutoring from Tsunade. Perhaps someone that was more sober would have been a better tutor. Hannah released his arm and turned to her mother. Apologies for the interruption. There is a matter to which I need to speak with you about. Come back in an hour or two. Tsume loved her daughter, but the desire to rekindle that flame that briefly flared between herself and Naruto was too great. Even a mother needed some personal time. It cannot wait, sadly. Hannah eyed Naruto with suspicion, her nose twitching slightly. It is a clan matter. Naruto understood the meaning clearly. Well, I need to drop off the mission scroll to Kakashi. That lazy bum needs to earn his paycheck somehow. Tsume sighed and gathered the dirty dishes. Very well. Thank you for the help again, Naruto. Please do not be a stranger around here. I think Kuromaru likes you. He is a good dog that knows a great guy. Naruto flashed one of his trademark grins to hide the disappointment of having to leave early. Something had sparked between them, and he needed to explore whatever that was. He had never felt that type of connection with another person. It reminded him of his first date with Hinata but was more intimate. He would need to find an expert on stuff like this. I am such a good dog that'll walk to you the gate. Kuromaru trotted into the house and nudged Naruto's leg. Come on. I have a new stick I wish to show you. See what I mean? Tsume smiled, but Hannah stared at Kuromaru with another suspicious look that made the wolf dog curl its lip. Don't be like that. Hurry back, and I'll fix you an extra helping of the stew. The dog remained silent on the way to the gate, ignoring many sticks that Naruto assumed to be not the new stick. Finally, some distance from the entrance, Kuromaru turned around and took a seat to stare at Naruto with a heavy expression. Do you plan on returning? What? Do you intend to keep visiting Tsume? Either by helping her with the dogs or simply spending time with her? The wolf dog paused and bowed his head in submission. Please. The answer came without needing to think. Yes. I'm planning on swinging by tomorrow, in fact. Tsume mentioned nature photography, so we could go on a walk. I know some really cool places that are super hidden. Calm down, and do not speak so loudly. My ear works perfectly fine without its twin. Kuromaru took a deep breath, relieved at the answer and the honesty it was delivered with. He resumed the trek to the front gate. Why do you ask? I will say this, she believes these are her waning days. For her sake, please prove her wrong. You look good. Hannah sat at the small kitchen table as Tsume washed the dishes from lunch. It is quite the shock seeing you dressed so. Niece. Tsume smirked when her daughter struggled to respond. She could not help but pick on her children. What? Do you believe me too uncivilized to enjoy the finer things in life? Would a pelt barely covering my be more suitable for someone like me? Perhaps I could bring out my spear to complete the outfit. Mother. Hannah took a deep breath and pinched the bridge of her nose. You know I don't mean any of that. Relax. Let an old woman have a bit of fun with her brats. I decided to try something different today. It's always good to learn new tricks, no matter how old you are. Plus, I wanted to give Kuromaru a good shock. Hana shook her head but could not hide that smile. I saw the poor dog earlier chasing his tail. It's good to keep him on his toes. Tsume finished the last bowl and took a seat at the table. Let's get this over with. A moment of silence passed as Hana entered her matriarch mode, trying to sound and look more authoritative. She learned the trick from Tsume but had yet to truly master it. In looking over the next year's budget, we have decided it is time to reduce some of the pack sizes. As you are well aware, this is normal for those packs that aren't of particular use at the present moment. I have spoken greatly with our breeders and the Hokage about the matter and have decided to disband the last of the warbands. Tsume did not like the thought of getting rid of the warbands but understood that they were becoming obsolete in this new world. Nukkenen offered far more flexibility when compared to a war dog that lived only for direct combat. She nodded but did not respond. There was nothing to say, given that it had already been decided. Furthermore, we have decided to sell the warbands. Excuse me. Tsume slammed her palm on the table. Sell. When has our clan ever sold our dogs to outsiders? Mother, please. The lack of missions has hurt our income. We have multiple parties interested in buying the remaining warbands for sums far higher than what they're actually worth. These dogs have served our clan for years. Many of them are veterans of multiple wars. I understand the need to disband the war bands but allow the dogs to enter retirement. With a little training, they'll make perfect guard dogs or companions. A few of them have the brains to become Nukkenen. Tsume's claws dug into the table at the thought of the Inuzuka abandoning loyal hounds. A few, over the years, had been given as gifts to people who had done a great service to the clan but never had any been sold like a commodity. It ran against the tenets that served as the bedrock of the entire clan. Man and dog looked out for one another, living as a family. What if I had sold you away to some greasy prince? Tsume's lips curled back into a snarl. Imagine some fat businessman giggling with glee at the prospect of popping your cherry. You are whoring away our kin. Mother. That is inappropriate. This is different. Tell me how offering you away to some dirty man is different than you selling members of our family off. I'm not a dog. There we go. Tsume pushed her chair back and stood. This was the trend she had seen building for decades. Now, her own children had embraced it. But, to the Inuzuka of old, such thoughts would have been considered heresy. You younglings never looked at your dogs more than a tool or a pet. These dogs are our kin. To sell them is to abandon everything that we are. Our pact with our dogs makes us who we are. They trust us to guide and lead them just as we trust them to guide and lead us. To sell them is to abandon family and honor for coin. Hana closed her eyes. She expected some resistance but not a response of that magnitude. The clan is officially asking for your help. You're one of the few handlers who can easily work with them. I remember the virtues I stand for. Very well. Hana pushed back her chair and stood. I shall bother you no more about it. If you excuse me, there are other pieces of business for me to attend to. Good day. Tsume's glare softened slightly at the hurt look on her daughter's face. She hated to use such a tone with her own flesh and blood, but the new road her people walked ran against everything she stood for. Yet, in many ways, it amused her. History had a habit of repeating itself. Kurama, are you awake? Nothing. So, I found a hot vixen today. Really now? Kurama's thunderous voice echoed in his mind like an erupting volcano. Did you inform her of my greatness? Naruto rolled his eyes at the fox's ego but couldn't help smiling. He wondered how much of it was real and how much of it was all an act. Sure did. She'll be at your cave by morning. There was a momentary pause. You're up late. What's wrong? I like someone. Naruto rolled over onto his side despite knowing the fox was unable to see his blush. But, of course, Kurama had spent long enough inside his brain to know the emotions associated with blushing. I like someone. That is normal for a man of your age. Your loins are calling out to find a mate, and the social pressures of marriage are too great to resist for long. Which of your little friends is it? I better like them. Actually, it is not anyone from my generation. Going younger. Hanabi is a respectable choice. I enjoy her sense of humor. She is much prettier than her sister. Her having a spine is a major turn on. Naruto could not argue with the fox on either of those points. 5 years his junior, Hanabi was considered one of the most beautiful women in the village. Nah, she's dating Konohamaru. Anyway, the woman I like is older. Kurenai. You did have a crush on her a long time ago. Everyone had a crush on Kurenai-sensei. No. Older. Kurama remained silent at this, and Naruto could tell that the old fox was thinking really hard about this. Guessing games, irritating to humans, were the favorite game of the demonic Vulpine, with them having rounds that lasted for hours. He believed it tied into Kurama's inherent curiosity. Tsunade. Following in your master's footsteps, A. My advice is to stay away from the booby sack of issues. High maintenance to the max. Once again, an apt description. Totally agree. Granny would be hell on wheels. He sighed heavily and closed his eyes. Tsume Inuzuka. Don't know her. You must have met her when I was asleep or something. Kurama remained silent for a few moments. Inuzuka are the middle ground between the delicious senju and the disgusting uzumaki. The dogs serve as a nice appetizer. Naruto's laughter shattered the night. The fox's obsession with eating people, mostly exaggerated to appear scary, creeped him out at first but now made him laugh more than any joke or gag. Kurama had an opinion on how every single person or clan tasted, even if it was impossible. Luckily for himself, the amount of sodium in his diet made him far too salty for Kurama's taste buds. So, who the hell is Tsume? Kiba's mom. Naruto smiled as the image of Tsume dressed up came back to him. Strong, beautiful, and wild. She is a hunter with a heart of gold, focused on protecting her pack. A hunter. She could teach you. I've wanted to go with you for a while now. I have battled against the Inuzuka and have great respect for them. Tell me about your new dog mommy. Kurama remained silent as Naruto explained everything, amused and happy for his companion's new friend. The woman reminded him a bit of Kushina in all the positive ways, but far more of a fighter than the redhead ever was. Her age could prove a problem, but a little boost of his perfect chakra could fix that. Two concerns kept him from completely jumping for joy. First, the age gap would make many of Naruto's friends uncomfortable with her, further isolating the young man from already strained relationships. The woman's current political standing as the disgraced matron could complicate Naruto's run for Hokage, with some people possibly believing Tsume is using him to get back at the Inuzuka. Something else bothered him about the whole situation. Fuzzy memories tried to come to the surface but lacked the strength for him to make sense of them. Once the blonde ceased the vibrations of his vocal cords, Kurama decided to mediate to see if he could remember what seemed so familiar about everything. What should I do? Naruto's voice sounded small. The young man never had a father figure beside Iruka, who had the will of a slug, and Jiraiya, the super pervert godfather, who decided to wait 12 years before showing up. His first real relationship with Hinata ended on a sour note due to the blunders of inexperience. Kurama put aside his demonic fox persona in favor of something closer to the old sage. Reaching out through their connection, Kurama nosed Naruto's cheek gently as if kissing it. The first thing you need to do is the hardest: be yourself. You're a wonderful person that has already caught her eye. Be the same compassionate yet strong man you've always been. Naruto nodded slowly, smiling at the uplifting words. Next, spend more time with her. That spark you felt will return only if you can get her in the proper mood. She felt safe and happy with you yesterday. Recreate that in a different location. Allow her to express herself completely. Excellent. You're doing something you both enjoy. Make sure to ask lots of questions about her photography while sharing details about yourself. Good relationships are an equal exchange. The fox waited for Naruto's response, but none came. He smiled as soft snores filled his mind. Sleep well, my little prince. Tsume decided not to look a gift horse in the mouth and kept her lips sealed. Instead, she followed Naruto on the dirt trail leading away from Konoha and into the wilderness of the Land of Fire. The blonde knocked her door down early that morning, asking if she wanted to go on a day hike to visit some of his favorite spots. While her mood remained sour from Hana's news, Naruto's infectious positivity convinced her to get dressed and dust off her old gear, including a camera that had not been used in 3 years. She could have carried her own equipment and pack, but the young man decided to carry everything for her. You know a lot about these trails. She stepped over a fallen log. Her wide brim hat kept the sun from her eyes, allowing her to take in all the sights. Never pictured you one for exploration. Naruto flashed one of his goofy smiles and adjusted the packs on his back. I used to come out here as a kid. No adults. No harsh whispers or glares. These woods offered me freedom. Tsume frowned but remained silent. Many within the village tended to ignore the fact that they had treated the hero of the fourth so poorly for most of his life. As the head of the Inuzuka, she did little to relieve his suffering, placing her clan's reputation over the well-being of a single orphan. Like so many other things in her life, she would be called to answer for it in the next life. It still amazed her how Naruto turned into a hero instead of a monster. If she was in his shoes, Tsume wondered if she would have the willpower not to fall into darkness. Did you have many friends growing up? Tsume closed her eyes, regretting the question as soon as it left her mouth. She knew the answer already. If it bothered him, Naruto did not let it show. A few. Shikamaru was always pretty nice, and Sasuke played with me a lot before his family was murdered. Gramps always took time out of his schedule to spend time with me. He always took me out for dinner Tuesday. Gramps. The third. Naruto smiled and paused to readjust the packs, beads of sweat rolling down his face. The old man wasn't perfect, but he cared, ya know. Hiruzen Sarutobi was far from perfect. Her own experiences left a bitter taste in her mouth that never subsided despite the man being dead for over a decade. Between his weakening of the village's academy before the Third War and his piss-poor management of the rebuilding efforts after the attack of the Nine Tails, Hiruzen created a mess that took multiple Hokage to fix. The Inuzuka clan, who entered the Third War weakened, had yet to fully recover despite him requesting more of their members for active duty. It sounds like he treated you well. Of course, a total lie. given Naruto's childhood, but she thought it best not to speak ill of a man he respected so much. How did Kiba treat you? Naruto's flinch was noticeable, but he maintained a smile that seemed far less bright. He was not always the nicest. Be honest. He led the boys of the class against me. Naruto sighed, suddenly wishing for a different subject. Of course, Kiba tormented him. Her youngest tried to act like an alpha, a trait passed on from his father. It took her many years to break that habit out of him, and Kurenai still had some issues with him trying to dominate his teammates. Finally, she gave the Genjutsu mistress free rein to punish Kiba, which came useful after a particularly bad mission involving a noble girl Kiba had a crush on. Neither Kiba nor Kurenai told her what happened, but it was bad enough that the newly declared fifth Hokage had to write a lengthy apology letter. Only Kiba's clan status kept him from being punished beyond a complete loss of pay. Don't worry about it. Kiba and I are cool now. He really grew up after the war, ya know. War does that to people. No one returns from the battlefield the same. They reached a small river with an old bridge across the murky water. Naruto frowned at the state of decay, testing the wood with his foot. The first plank fell into the water below. As a shinobi, he did not need the bridge to cross the river, but civilians occasionally traveled out this far. The last thing he wanted was for someone to fall into the river that lacked the ability to get themselves to safety. He used a kunai to slice the ropes, wrecking the bridge so no one would attempt a crossing. I'll inform Kakashi-sensei of the state of the trail once we get back. It would be a good D-rank mission to clean this up for people. Naruto crossed the gap with a single jump and watched Tsume mimic the feat with ease. How was your childhood? I bet Kuromaru was a handful as a puppy. Let's just say he is far more active than he used to be. Tsume sensed the mood improve and smiled. The last thing she wanted to do was scare him away by asking stupid questions. She hated to admit it, but the boy somehow managed to get under her skin all the right ways. It took him years to become what he is now. Mother seemed so disappointed upon first seeing him. Why? He was just a puppy. So Akamaru slept most of the time. Mother never had a canine companion and did not work around the clan's dogs. So she expected something full-grown to protect her little girl. Naruto blinked and tilted his head. Kuromaru mentioned something about you being the first in your family to have a dog. Tsume rolled her eyes, making a mental note to get some revenge on Kuromaru for running his mouth. She felt the damn dog was trying to play matchmaker between her and a man 30 years her junior. He's correct. My parents did not come from a respectable family in the clan, so it was a shock that I was selected to become a warrior. Father nearly broke down crying with joy when I came home with Kuromaru. It was the happiest day of my life. Naruto paused to stare at the teary-eyed woman. He rubbed the back of his head, unsure what to do. Crying people, women in particular, always confused him. His mind raced with ways of soothing her without coming on too strong. Then, before he could move, Tsume regained her composure. Apologies. I don't think too much about my folks nowadays. She picked up the pace and forced the ghosts of her past away for the moment. The moment belonged to her, and she wanted to enjoy it fully. Where are we going anyways? I used to have a small hideout in a little ravine. Many animals used to show up around it, so I thought you could take some pictures. How thoughtful. It has been too long since I used this bad boy. She raised the camera around her neck, snapping pictures of colorful birds. How much further? I'm starting to get hungry. Kuromaru spent the day napping in all of his favorite spots. His work with Tsume typically gave him access to only a handful of spots around her house or the kennels. But, thanks to Naruto, the entire compound was his to roam and sleep in without worrying about Tsume. A few of his friends decided to join him for a nap tour that included a pleasant vista on the top of the main house and the shaded spot hidden in a drainage pipe. Finally, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the wolf dog yawned and began the long walk home after wishing his friends a good evening. He managed to make it halfway before Akamaru came running to him. Honorable Kuromaru. Honorable Kuromaru. To a human, this would have sounded like a storm of barking. News. News. Lower your voice, youngling. My hearing is sharper than your own. Report. Kiba. Kiba. Dad. Dad. Kuromaru closed his eye and sighed. The newer generations of dogs struggled with speaking, having been raised to focus on instinct over genuine intellectual development. What are you going on about? Don't tell me that Brat knocked someone up. Akamaru shook his head and stomped his paws into the dirt. No. No. Kiba. Kiba. Dad. Dad. You're not making any sense. He started to walk away when the white dog nipped his behind and bolted towards the main house. I'll bloody you for that. The chase ended seconds after Kuromaru crossed the doorway into the main house's meeting hall. He stopped to examine the gathered people and dogs, chattering with excitement. It was not unusual to see such a gathering, but the sight of the Hokage standing next to Hana on the raised platform reserved for the clan leadership made him suspicious. The visit of the Hokage or any high-ranking official was rare for the Inuzuka, who preferred to mind their own business. Why had Tsume not been invited? She may have been out, but someone should have told him to relay the message of a meeting. Maybe sleeping in hidden spots had not been the best idea. Frustrated and needing answers, Kuromaru pushed through the crowd with his teeth exposed. Tsume might have been an exile, but few clan members would block her companion for fear of insulting the former matriarch. What is going on? Kakashi flashed one of his eye smiles, remembering many missions working alongside the famous wolf dog. Hello, Kuromaru. I'm glad to see you're in good health. Pakan has been asking about you. It has been too long since we've hunted together. How is that runt? Kuromaru flashed a questioning glare to the silent Hana, who simultaneously seemed joyful and sorrowful. Still upset about the last card game. Kakashi shook his head in amusement. Next time you're free, stop by my office, and I'll summon him. Unfortunately, my duties as Hokage don't really give him much exercise. I shall keep that in mind, Scarecrow. Why are you here? Lord Hokage is here to welcome one of our own home. Hana closed her eyes as a chill ran down Kuromaru's spine. Father is coming home. Will you two shut the up? Minato Namikaze slammed his hands on the table. The customarily reserved man's eyes flared with uncontrollable rage that caused both Tsume and Kushina to flinch. Every single time we get together, we all must listen to you two bicker like children. Can you keep your mouths closed for an hour and behave like adults? You're worse than Obito and Kakashi. At this point, every pair of eyes in the restaurant was locked onto the back table. Shikaku placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. Minato, lower your voice. You're creating a scene. Creating a scene. Creating a scene. Minato pointed at the pair of women across from them. Tsume and Kushina, temporarily ignoring each other, glared at Minato. These two have done nothing but trade insults for the past hour. So why the hell do the Akamaiki let them in here still? Sir, one of the waiters approached the table. I'm going to have to ask that you lower your voice, or you'll be asked to leave. Minato stared at the waiter with a slack jaw. Then, taking a deep breath, he stood up, grabbed his coat, and marched out the front door without another word. See what you did. Kushina glared at the Inuzuka matriarch. Now, I have to go home and calm him down. What I did. You stared this. Shikaku placed his head on the table. Troublesome women. What the hell did you say? Naruto's laughter rang throughout the forest. Kakashi only ever told him happy stories about Kushina and Minato, never anything that painted them in a negative light. On the other hand, Tsume did not have any reservations about telling unflattering tales about either of his parents, especially his mother. So, you two did not get along. Tsume snorted and crossed her arms. Your mother was the biggest bitch in Konoha, and I will die on that hill. She seemed nice to me. Naruto shook his head. But wait, don't you consider yourself the biggest bitch? Yeah, no, because of the dogs. Oh, that title passed to Hana. She smirked as he began to laugh once more. Jokes aside, your mother and I just saw the world differently. She went beyond a rival and became my arch nemesis. Fate demanded we fight at every opportunity. Neither of us minded the challenge. Huh. Reminds me of Sasuke and me. Naruto thought to his wondering brother. Even after rebuilding our friendship, we can't help but bicker. Tsume shook her head and took a bite from her sandwich. What you have with Sasuke is nothing compared to the loathing between Kushina and me. That woman got under my skin in all the worst ways. I have a feeling that it was a mutual thing. When did it begin? You two can't have always hated each other. We never really liked each other, but the real issues came during our Genin exam. Wait. Naruto jumped to his feet and pointed at her. You were on the same team as my mother. Tsume rolled her eyes and threw a piece of crust at him. Yeah, for a total of 2 days. We flunked our Genin exam and had to be sent back to the academy for an entire year. Remedial training. Naruto remembered Kakashi threatening Team 7 with being sent back to the academy during the infamous bell test. Years later, he learned that it was a real thing for genin that failed to meet their teachers' expectations. Luckily, during the next placement, Kushina and I were placed on different squads. We blamed each other for failing the test. Tsume's lip curled back as the memories of almost drowning flooded her mind. Stupid bitch tried to use a seal and ended up throwing me into the river due to, accidentally, placing it too close to my hiding spot. Kuromaru attacked her and sent her to the hospital for stitches, making us flunk. This time, Naruto contained his laughter to avoid angering the still bitter woman. What happened after that? We became sworn enemies. I believe she used that seal to knock me out to show off. She tried to apologize, but only after we failed. Tsume's aggression grew with each word. Then she started to dating Minato Namikaze. You see, your papa and I were pretty good friends in the academy. He respected my brawn, and I respected his brain. Kushina despised the fact that we got along, repeatedly trying to drive a wedge between us. Did it work? Tsume's fury evaporated instantly with a big frown tugging her lips downwards. In a way. My own ego made me view Minato as an enemy. So when Hana was born, I refused to speak with either of them. The last thing I said to Minato was how he was going to be a Hokage that died young. Guess I was right in the end. A silence fell between them as both retreated inward to reflect. For Naruto, he did not hold delusions that his parents were perfect people. Everyone, including himself and Tsume, had flaws that made life difficult. People, however, could always change. The Tsume she described did not match the woman sitting next to him. As the son of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze, I forgive you on their behalf. Excuse me. Tsume jerked her head up. Yup. By allowing me to wash a bunch of dirty dogs and cooking me the best meal in my life, you have repaid any debts you owe them. Believe it. Tsume started at him with wide eyes and an amused smile. Then, finally, she pushed a strand of hair from her face. Your mother would be rolling in the ground if she knew we were this friendly. Once again, that magnetic attraction closed the distance between them. His heart began to pound his chest as the logical parts of his brain shut down in favor of the passion building within his heart. He took the initiative and placed a hand on her thigh. The gesture was received with a slight blush from Tsume as she leaned forward. Their first kiss lasted 3 seconds. Mom would be spinning at that. Tsume and Naruto returned to the village once the sun disappeared below the horizon. She tried her best to not steal a glance at the man walking close to her nor giggle like a schoolgirl when remembering their lips meeting. His boldness and her own willingness surprised her. Never did she expect that the overly polite Naruto would make such a move, nor did she expect herself to crave a second and third kiss. But, with how he smiled at her, those kisses would come in the following days. Kuromaru sat at the front gate, waiting for her. That was never a good sign. Either Kiba did something stupid again, or the wolf dog lost his favorite bone again. Hey, bud. Naruto waved both arms at the dog with a goofy grin. Did you miss me? Very much so. Your company has been a pleasant change from what I deal with daily. Kuromaru's single eye narrowed briefly as he examined both before widening. Tsume knew that something had changed between herself and Naruto. But, you only hang out with Tsume. Your company has been a pleasant change from what I deal with daily. Kuromaru stared at Tsume with an unblinking expression that told of serious trouble. How was the walk? I expected you home hours ago. It was good. We got to talking and had some sandwiches. Tsume frowned at the edge of the dog's tone. Something had the dog rattled. Got some good pictures of the wildlife to show you. Excellent. I shall enjoy seeing them. What are you two doing now? Tsume glanced towards the thinking Naruto. She wanted to spend more time with him but knew the wolfhound had something important to share. Say, Blondie, why don't we meet at Ichiraku tomorrow morning? My treat since you got the sandwiches. Let's say around 8. Sounds like a date. Naruto turned a deep crimson. I didn't mean it like that. Sure, you didn't. Normally, a girl expects the man to pay on the first date. Good thing I ain't like other girls. She flicked his nose. Sweet dreams, hero. Tsume watched as the future Hokage stumbled away into the darkness and smiled. It felt good to get that reaction from someone after over 20 years of being unromantic. Romantic. She did not know what was building, but it felt romantic. You enjoyed yourself. Kuromaru rubbed against her leg with a slight whimper. I shall take credit for pairing you two. I only request that I be given a special place of honor at the wedding. Perhaps on a raised dais with a cushion. Tsume roared with laughter and slapped the dog on the back of the head. Like hell you are. The bride and groom are the centerpieces. Something told her that her companion was trying to lighten the mood before dropping the hammer. What happened? I could ask you the same question. Kuromaru. Tsume knelt before him with a soft smile, stroking his face gently. How long have we been friends? You received me on your 6th birthday as a gift from your patriarch and matriarch. That was 52 years, 3 months, and 22 days ago. Kuromaru took a deep breath. Your husband has returned to the village and clan. Tsume's strokes grew quicker. Pardon. I misheard your joke, friend. Takashi Inuzuka has returned. Hana and Lord Hokage welcomed him an hour ago. He is awaiting your arrival with your son and daughter. Kuromaru took another deep breath. It gets worse. Really now? Tsume smiled and continued to pet him. How can this get any worse, my dear Kuro? Hana relented her position to him with the blessing of the Hokage and clan elders. Ah, that is much worse. Tsume's smile grew larger as her nails elongated. Finally, she ceased petting him in favor of slowly standing. Where is Takashi? I much desire to slay him. Kuromaru stepped away from the increasingly feral woman. Tsume, think about this before you rush in there. We both know that he is doing this on purpose. Perhaps he is hoping that you'll try to kill him. She paused to stare at her companion. Let's go there, say hello, and get the hell out. Maybe the best option is to simply walk away. Walk away. Tsume's voice began to rise as her rage simmered into a cold fury. She knew the wolf dog was right, but that did little to comfort her. Our clan is already on a bad path. Takashi leading them will forever destroy what remains of our honor. Our clan. The clan that allowed your daughter to spill your blood for political gain. The clan that has decided to sell valued members of the pack. What is there left to save, Tsume? You have dedicated your entire life to ensuring that your people have a bright future. They've made the decision. Allow them to fall and walk away. The wolf dog's face softened. Do not make the same mistake your patriarch did. Tsume closed her eyes, trying to block out the memories of her patriarch. It seemed her past was determined to follow her even into this new age. Kushina, Takashi, her patriarch, all of them returned to plague her at the end. She wanted to give up and cry for the first time in many years. Everything she had strived for amounted to nothing. Let's go home, old friend. For wrath. She held out her hand for the dog. Kuromaru placed his paw in her palm. For ruin. The gates to the Inuzuka compound were closed by the time they arrived. Neither of them had any real sense of urgency and decided together to take the more scenic route home. Both remained silent as Tsume unlocked the gate's seal array and pushed it open. Only a handful of people remained on the grounds, primarily people preparing for a late-night departure for a mission. A single butler, a non-Inuzuka, stood outside the doors of the main house. He waved him over. Ah, Lady Inuzuka. Your family is growing restless. Lady Inuzuka. She almost found it funny that the clan wanted to call her that again. Either Takashi expected her to submit to him, or he was trying to get a reaction. They are. Kuromaru, when was the last time you took a dump? About 3 hours ago. Very wet, so I do not know if I could hold the next one. Tsume shrugged at the butler. Send my apologies to my children and husband. I'm sure you, of all people, do not want to deal with an accident of the stink kind. Perfect, my lady. I shall inform Lord Takashi right away. The butler turned around and entered the house. Another hour later, the pair finally decided to join the main house to get the unpleasantries over. Kiba and Hana snoozed on a large sofa, their heads resting against one another in a sweet manner that made Tsume smile. Despite an age difference and a constant love of fighting, the siblings loved one another dearly. As an only child, she felt glad knowing that her babies had someone to look out for the other's best interest once she was worm food. It made her feel like she did something right as a mother. Beautiful as ever, my dear. And the rat emerged from his nest. Takashi Inuzuka stood from the black chair that used to be her spot. He remained handsome despite approaching his late 60s with a sharp face and piercing eyes the color of timber. His wavy hair and thick beard kept the deep hazelnut shade from his youth with only the slightest hint of gray. Overall, if she did not know the scum lurking beneath the surface, Tsume would be all over the man. Ah, Takashi, my love. I was hoping you would return to us on a corpse cart. Seems fate had other plans. Tsume gestured for Kuromaru to wait by the door. She glanced at her sleeping children. It seems you've moved from robbing the dead to robbing the living. Stealing the position of clan head from your own daughter. How many years in hell does that add? 37. Takashi laughed and returned to his seat. I'll be out long before you've served half of your time. Good. That means less time around you. Tsume maintained her smile and leaned against the wall. May your reign as the head of the Inuzuka be small and full of heartache. Takashi stared at her for a moment, the jovial mask slipping to reveal a calculating creature on the hunt. It returned with a hearty laugh. You're mighty late. Why? I was out trying to pick up a real man to warm my furs at night. Tsume shrugged. How did you convince Hana to surrender her position to you? Honesty. We both know my little princess is not the commanding type. She has too soft a heart to make difficult decisions and see them through. Your kind words to her yesterday really shook her up. Tsume flinched, and Takashi laughed. Cheer up, love. Papa Bear is here to fix everything. I'll make sure Kiba is ready to take over once I'm ready to retire and that Hana continues to grow in whatever manner she sees fit. Meanwhile, you're free to run off and play. Excuse me. Takashi nodded and pointed to the door. I need or want nothing from you, Tsume. The Inuzuka clan has no need for people like you. A new age is coming for us, and it is time to leave certain baggage behind. You've already exiled yourself. I will be making it official in the morning. Take Kuromaru and hit the road. How thoughtful of you. Last time we talked, you warned me about crossing you. Something about revenge. Get over yourself, Tsume. I have returned to the Inuzuka to ensure our future is secured. My time away has really opened my eyes to certain things. But, in the grand scheme of things, you're nothing. Takashi reached to his belt for a bag of coins and tossed it at her. Here's the reimbursement for the money you spent on the war dogs. Don't spend it all in one place. Tsume glanced at her sleeping children. What of them? They will want me around. You cannot honestly expect me to just abandon Hana and Kiba. They seemed joyful when I embraced them. But, let's be honest, Tsume. You're not the motherly type. Time after time, you've shown a disregard for their feelings. Allow me to heal the damage you've caused. Takashi reclined back and smiled once more. Divorce papers will be delivered tomorrow afternoon. I've been scoping a few ladies out to push a few more pups for me. That Hinata girl seems sweet, and her clan is always looking for cash. Kuromaru stepped forward and yanked at Tsume's pant leg. Let's get out of here. Listen to the cripple, Tsume. Walk away and never come back. Kuromaru looked into the bedroom with disappointment. His respect for Tsunade Senju and Tsume was near infinite, each a prime example of what a ninja should strive to be and an inspiration for future generations. However, seeing both passed out on Tsunade's bed with numerous bottles of sake surrounding them tested the limits of respect. He entered the bedroom and hopped onto the mattress to paw Tsume's face. Wake up. Not so rough, hero. Tsume rolled over in drunken slumber to wrap her arms around the dog. I'll let you mount me anytime. The dog closed his eye, exhaling to battle his annoyance. Tsume, wake up. Naruto, she stroked his face. Breed me and fill me, with Uzumaki puppies. Thankfully, Tsunade remained asleep and unaware of the dirty dreams of her friend. The last thing poor Tsume needed was to explain her erotic fantasies to the woman who looked at Naruto like a grandson. Seeing his companion still out of it, Kuromaru decided to skip to the nuclear option, howling. Tsume's eyes snapped open the second Kuromaru began his howls. Shut the hell up. She covered her ears and tried to turn away, but the wolf dog continued the song of his people that pierced any barrier. What the hell is wrong with you? Tsunade awoke with a groan. Tell him to be quiet. Let Shizune feed him. However, the song did not cease. If you don't shut up that mutt, I'm sending him skyward. What the hell is wrong with you? Tsume finally sat up. It's 6 in the morning. Kuromaru stopped his song. Incorrect. It is 10:31 in the morning. He paused to allow the woman's brain to catch up. Do you remember where you were supposed to be at 8? The past evening's events played out in Tsume's mind. She got kicked out of the clan, went to Tsunade's house, and drank for a few hours while playing poker. No. Whatever. I shall take care of this mess. Get yourself cleaned up. You smell worse than Kiba. Ever the loyal hound, Kuromaru decided that the best course of action was to find Naruto and make up an excuse for his companion before treating the man to ramen courtesy of Tsume's wallet, along with some training for future dates with his companion. What mess. Tsume rubbed her forehead, feeling the hangover already. What am I forgetting? Never mind. Kuromaru exited the bedroom and retrieved Tsume's wallet from her purse. He left the house as soon as Tsunade stumbled into the kitchen, complaining that Shizune had forgotten to make her breakfast. Living with the woman would surely test the limits of his patience, and he hoped that none of Tsunade's bad habits would transfer to Tsume. Luckily, if he was not insulted about being stood up, Naruto's continued presence would counterbalance the fifth Hokage's influence. As he predicted, Naruto sat on the park bench across from the ramen stand with his head downwards. He trotted next to the young man and licked his hand. Apologies for my late arrival. Naruto's head shot up with a hopeful smile that diminished upon seeing only the wolf dog. Where's Tsume? Recovering from a long night of drinking with Tsunade. An unexpected event happened last night, and she went a little overboard. Tsume wished for me to be your date this morning and to extend her deepest apologies. She promised to make it up to you by making another dinner and watching a movie. Date. This is a date. Kuromaru's tone left no room for argument. Think of this as training for the real thing. What is the first thing you must do? Naruto rubbed his head and thought back to his few dates with Hinata. Despite his best efforts, each ended with Hinata fainting or being unable to respond to his questions properly. Ordering food was always the first best step. Let's get some ramen. Incorrect. Kuromaru nipped his leg. Compliment me and call me pretty. But you're a dog. That is technically correct. However, I suggest you do not call Tsume or any woman a dog. Actually, that might work on Tsume depending on her mood, but don't risk it yet. This was going to be far more complicated than Naruto expected. Kuromaru, you are gorgeous and cute. Good. Now, let's go order some food. I want a bowl with extra meat. But, dogs don't eat ramen. And dogs don't normally talk either. I am not a standard dog. My stomach can eat whatever you can without issue. Kuromaru marched into the ramen stand and hopped onto one of the seats to stare at Ayami. I am Naruto's date. Don't listen to him. He is just a dog. Naruto groaned and took a seat next to Koromaru. This is training for the real thing. Ayami stared at Naruto for a brief moment.